Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. One of the attributes in business is to be dynamic. That means you have to take advantage and be flexible of the new opportunities and take risks or take chances whenever they occur. So whenever something have an opportunity, you have to grab it and go with it. The problem is you can't just take crazy risks unless you're desperate or you have the money, or you do a calculated risk and you go with it. But the idea here is being dynamic, being flexible. Well, it seems like the Azov battalion / regiment nowadays is very flexible and it adapts. It adapts to the needs of current events in Ukraine, which is the Russians' Wagner Group, the mercenary private company, is doing wonders for the Russians, it seems. So what's going on here? But what does the Azov Regiment do now? This article comes from Russia Today from the 13th of January 2023, today, Friday. Ukraine legalizes foreigners in Neo-Nazi regiment. Now remember, this comes from a Russian media outlet, so they will use their preferred terms as the other ones use their preferred terms on Wagner Group or Putin. They call him dictator and so on. Wagner Group is a mercenary company and all that. So these guys return the favor. They call them neo-Nazis. Now, Azov Battalion, if you look, just do a few clicks on YouTube, you're going to find more about this Azov Battalion. I made a video, maybe in April, I would say, or maybe March. I think March or April, regarding the Azov Battalion with information who's who and what's what. You might want to check that out. So you know that when you say neo-Nazi on this case is not really, far-fetched, let's put it this way. They say they have certain kind of ideas that are... Anyway, let's move on. Citizens of other nations who join the Azov unit will receive benefits on par with regular service members under a new law. Yeah, that's what happens in Ukraine. But that volunteer, you don't know if he was recruited somewhere outside of Ukraine, and then they sign their own contract with other organizations, departments and all that. So you don't know that one. Do you have any evidence, Emil? No, it's true, I have no hard evidence on that. The only evidence that I have, I think, is my logic and my experience. So I've been around the block a few times to understand how things are bypassed and, weaseled out. The Ukrainian, I don't know anything about if that's correct, but I think that I would be surprised if that doesn't happen. The Ukrainian parliament on Thursday passed a new law that expands perks offered to foreigners who sign up to serve in the country's military. Sponsors of the bill specifically signaled out the controversial Azov Regiment as an intended beneficiary of the measure. Now this is according to the Russians, right? Azov originated as a group of far-right volunteers who in 2014 took up arms against Donbas forces with Kiev's blessing. The unit was incorporated into the National Guard, a structure separate from the army, in November of that year. The new legislation has added that wording, and I'm quoting, and other military units to several laws that previously only covered the main Ukrainian armed forces. A formal jurisdiction of the bill said that there are many foreign nationals serving in Azov, but that the existing legal framework makes their presence in Ukraine illegal and does not allow them to request Ukrainian citizenship. The new law is meant to change that. Azov is arguably the best known internationally of the Ukrainian nationalist units. Before the conflict between Moscow and Kiev escalated into open hostilities last February, Western officials and media outlets acknowledged that many of the unit's members exposed problematic ideology and that some were An expose published by Time magazine in 2021 called Azov the focal point of, and I'm quoting, a network of extremist groups stretching from California across Europe to New Zealand, end quote. Over the years, it managed to recruit an estimated 17,000 foreign fighters from 50 nations, 50. The report, where the report claimed before describing the dominant role of Azov extremists play in the movement. After Russia deployed troops in Ukraine, the Azov underwent a rebranding, disposing of its Nazi-inspired official insignia and posing as heroes of resistance. Some prestigious U.S. institutions, such as Stanford University, provided platform to members of the group. I guess you use whatever you got under these kind of circumstances. That reminds me of, what are you going to say? Oh, you have this ideology, you can fight. Oh, you're that, you can fight. In this kind of circumstances, you bring the chicken, you bring the pig, you bring the horse. Everybody, let's go, fight. That reminds me of a clergyman in when the Spaniards were involved in South America, and they were fighting whatever they were fighting over there. I don't want to use terms that might be anyway, you know who they were fighting over there. At one point, it was a guy over there who was I can't remember what title he had. He came to the clergyman and said, well, Father, how can we distinguish when we kill these guys? How do we distinguish between believers and unbelievers? And the clergyman said, don't worry, son, God would separate them when they get over there. God is going to take care of them. The same here. As of now, the Ukrainians and the Russians are bringing anything they can. And then after the war, we'll sort them out. That was the expression. God will sort them out. So the same. These guys are going to sort them out after this thing ends. And then it's going to be too late to indict anybody unless you are really have the power, which is, let's say, the Russia is down, decapitated, then yes, you're going to have a lot of so-called trials and all those kind of things, which I'm pretty sure they're going to be fair and transparent and all that, looking for justice. Yeah, you can look into it in many instances, and I would start with the Nuremberg trials if you really want to go to that. But if you don't, I do. And then I have a problem with that because I have more than I read books more on that than the how should I put it, the accredited, the legal version of events. It's just that they give you extra information that you find out, oh, so the defense prosecutors could not have access to this kind of things. Oh, they came up with certain kind of crimes that were not before they were not crimes before the incident occurred. There's some kind of juridical instances that were not used. But anyway, what can you do? And that's just one. You want to see how Saddam was, you can look at that. Or maybe you want to see how Gaddafi was judged. Or maybe you want to see how, I don't know, Mussolini, go back, see how he was judged. And anyway, what I'm saying, the point is, do not let yourself on anybody's hand. Look, Milosevic, he was arrested, thrown into Hague, and then he died. Okay, another one, and many others. Don't let anybody dictate or be, how should I put it, be in charge of your life or telling you as much as you can, telling you, what to do and tell you cannot do this and you can, even though they have dark or black robes and who knows what else. No, try as much as possible to be yourself and don't be under these guys' thumb, in a way that obviously living in a society you can't avoid certain kind of things. You have to follow the law and so on, obviously. But in these circumstances, like the Russians are right now, what do you think would happen if Russia loses, let's put it, loses the war? Do you think they will be like, you know what, no, definitely find the guilty ones. But if you look at the guilty ones over there, you want to make sure you look at the guilty ones right here. But you're not going to look at the guilty ones. You're going to say no guilty here. I mean, you want to see how how many guilty people were found in the Second World War? Well, I would start with Truman, the president. Yeah, Harry. He dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 civilian cities. All right? How do you call that? Mass murderer? How do you call that? I mean, if Putin will do that now to save his boys' life and shorten the war, what would you say? I mean, would you say that's acceptable? Of course not. But over there it was. Why? Hey, they attacked us. Oh, so if someone attacks me, I can commit a war crime? No. You see what I mean? But anyway, so if you want to start a shit, let's do it from, not only when they want to start it. Let's go back and let's go back and let's go back. And the deeper we go, the more garbage we find. But no, we can't go that. No, don't go that way. Yeah, I want to go that way. I don't pick and choose. That's not justice. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart. Regarding the Azov battalion, because I was about to forget about it, they can employ whomever they want. They can pay them how much they want over there. There are certain rules after which you're considered a mercenary. As I said, I suspect that these guys, they will be volunteers. Some of them will be volunteers because they will be volunteers. But I expect that under this cover of this, you're going to have armed forces of another country coming and signing that paper for Azov battalion or International Legion or something, defending volunteers. They will sign it with his hand. With his hand, they signed already when they came from, and they will fight. That's what I think is going to be. And when they say, well, we're not involved, well. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.